talks to Ava about how he's going to stay in Harlan, and after he finishes robbing and murdering Markham, he's going to use Markham's money to grow legal weed. He's going to basically steal his money and steal his idea. And he's going to try and start to buy up some of that property as well. When Boyd walks in, Ava was on the phone with Raylan telling him about Ficus and in an absolute panic, right? She's packing. The note I have here is, how many clothes did Ava take with her for a one-night hotel stay? Like, she's filling this whole duffel bag full of clothes. Like, what are you doing? I guess maybe now we know why Boyd had a change of clothes in the car, right? She prepares. So Boyd's plan is to stay in Harlan and use Markham's money to grow legal weed, and that causes Ava to panic again. He goes to the bathroom and she breaks down because, and again, I think we see. I think at the beginning of the episode, we get a little bit of insight into her thought process, which is, I've got a series of doors that I could potentially walk through to get myself out of this room that I've locked myself in. And I think she's starting to see some of those doors just remain permanently shut. The Raylan door, maybe she feels like, oh, there's still, an opportunity for me to kind of finesse Raylan a little bit with my sexuality. But the Boyd door, the door of, I think in her mind, one of her exit strategies was Boyd successfully pulls off the heist, kills Markham, and they flee together from both Markham's men and the marshals. And I think that now she sees that door is closed, because Boyd's like, hey, no, I'm going to stay in Harlan and grow legal weed now. And so that's another door that's potentially closed to her. So the walls are closing in a little bit on Ava, to mix my metaphor, because she doesn't have a whole lot of exit options left, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think the problem, like as you're saying, that Ava sees, okay, well, how do I get out of this jam that I'm in?
Mm-hmm.
And
fewer and fewer options.
That Boyd, it's almost like, because like literally the day before, he was like, oh, wherever you want to go, basically, right? So
he's a man who's very easily distracted by the next shiny thing that comes along, right? He's always got a scheme. He's always got a plan. He's always got, a story of, here's how the next thing's going to happen. If he were less articulate, and more of a drunk, he'd be Arlo. He's been as successful as Arlo ever was with anything that he ever did, which is to say not successful at all. His heroin business has failed. His effort to partner with the Detroit mafia has failed. His efforts to, steal the Bennett's weed failed. I mean, everything he's tried to do has failed miserably. And, he's just constantly attracted to the next get rich quick scheme. He's the guy who falls for Ponzi schemes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think he might be a little bit more sophisticated than that, but I think, I think
he gets blinded. He gets blinded by the prospect of getting that money, getting that bag, right? He gets blinded by it and loses all perspective. And we see that happen to him later on in the season, and we'll get to those episodes when we get there. But I mean, the ability for him to go down into that mine to do what he's trying to do, and needing to go into a deep mine and having to manage, what he's doing and how dangerous it is an indication of a man who's not rational. He's not thinking about these things in a rational, thought out sort of, repeatable way. He's acting on impulse.
And that's why they call it the criminal mind.
That's right.
Son.
That's how he's going to get caught. So a couple things to just kind of wrap up, clean up here. The first is this one.
You use your tongue prettier than a $20 whore.
We get this word coadjutors that gets used a couple of times, and I like it because Calhoun uses it first. Calhoun Schreier uses it first. He calls Ty Walker and Seabass and those guys the coadjutors of the person who is trying to buy the property. And then Tim uses it later, as essentially sort of making fun of Calhoun Schreier when they're at the investigating the murder at that property that was on the list. And coadjutor is just an adjective that means assistant. And that's all it means. But there is actually a Catholic specific definition, which I thought was interesting. This is the second time this season I think we've had a Catholic specific word. It's a bishop assisting a diocesan bishop and often having the right of succession. So basically it's another bishop that's assisting the bishop of a diocese. And if that bishop were to die, that assistant bishop would sort of take over. I don't know how that hierarchy works in the Catholic Church or anything, but that's the Catholic specific definition. So
like a vice bishop.
Right. Yeah. The vice president in this scenario. Exactly. It would be the direct parallel. They help the president, and if the president can no longer serve, then they take over. So that's that one. And then the only other note that I have here is that Tim's preferred death is Sigourney Weaver choking him out with her thighs, which it's an odd choice for Tim. I feel like at his age versus the age Sigourney Weaver is in this when this TV show was shot. But I can also understand the sentiment.
Oh yeah, Sigourney Weaver's fantastic.
Yeah. Super.
Was it? He was referring to the aliens, right? The alien movies.
I think he had to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's like militaristic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super hot in that movie too. That first one, especially.
Yeah. Well, I think it was SNL that did like a spoof on that. The line was like, because they always have to, for the time travel or space travel, they had to get into those pods, and they all had to get basically in their underwear.
Right. Yeah, it's very necessary for the purposes of the plot that you be in your underwear, nearly naked.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make it cold. Also, let's not forget that part.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I was gonna say, speaking of sequels, was the first one or the second one better than the first one?
I like the first one.
The first one was good.
I think
the second one was better.
You think so? You like the Bill Paxton?
Bill Paxton. I don't know. It's just like it was a different type of movie because it's more like a relentless like Terminator. Oh, that's Cameron.
True.
So it's like so like Terminator 2 is like like that Terminator is like relentlessly going after.
Yeah, there's no downtime in Terminator 2. You're right.
Yeah. But
no time in Aliens either.
Yeah. Well, in Alien, there was a lot better pacing as far, not better, but like different pacing.
Yep.
So it was more like a horror movie, I guess.
It was. The second one's almost pure action with the horror kind of the jump scare element to it. But you're absolutely right. The first one is more sort of pure horror, which. Yeah, that's kind of why I like it. I think I'm a big fan of horror movies. So but I think it's a much closer call in Terminator and Terminator 2. I think Terminator 2 is the better movie in that instance. I agree with you there. But for Alien versus Aliens, I prefer Alien. I always have. But I do like Bill Paxton in Aliens. Game over, man. Game over.
He's basically the same character in that as he is in the
in everything.
In everything. I guess he's like one of those James Cameron favorites, right? He always like, what was it, True Lies or whatever?
Yeah.
Lies.
Yeah.
Where he was like driving that Corvette. He's like, the vet gets them wet. Driving that Corvette.
I love him in Weird Science. That's as a Chet.
Oh, yeah. He gets turned into like basically like a
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah,
giant pile of shit. All right. Well, let's get to anything else about this episode that you think we missed?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Well, let's get to our last segment here.
I was telling my friends this morning how yesterday you come to me and if you don't get out of town in 24 hours, I'm going to shoot you on sight.
Fire in the hole!
Are you going to shoot him if you catch him?
I'll kill 4 of you before you even clear your weapons, and I'll take my chances with the other 2.
You get the chance. shoot him in the nuts.
I don't pull my sidearm unless I'm going to shoot to kill.
Are you going to shoot him too, Raylan? And in this episode, surprisingly, Raylan doesn't shoot anybody.
He does not.
He does not. There was as you had mentioned earlier, there was like that possibility when they were there for a confrontation when they were at Loretta's house, but there really wasn't any. Was there any body? Oh yeah, there were the couples
more
or the couple. Yeah, and then there was Lewis.
Less of a body, more of a mist.
More of a
fine paste, if you will.
How does somebody be there 1 second and then the next second he's just gone?
just vapor. Yeah.
So and that was the only that was the only body as far as like on screen. The couple they died off screen.
Yes.
So there wasn't really anything to the segment this time, except for has Raylan even shot anybody this season? No, I don't think so.
He has not. Don't worry, he's going to make up for lost time. Yeah.
It's always.
I was running through because I was trying to justify creating the character retirement audio because it's a little bit of work for me to do that. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, how many other characters do I have to do this for this season? And I'm like, oh, you know what? We have a few more characters that this happens to this season where they just kind of go away. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll put it together and we'll do that. And then I started thinking about, boy, how many characters do I have to do the RIP for this season? And I started looking ahead and I'm like, oh, wow, it's a lot. There's like one episode where I have to do like 3, I think. So,
is it? I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, it's going to be something.
It'll be like a 4-hour episode.
Yeah, exactly. So those of you who are concerned that there's not enough action, there's plenty coming. Trust me. Plenty of action, plenty of gunplay. So, and at this point, by the time you're hearing this episode, Justified City Primeval has already aired. We know from the reviews that it's probably really, really good. I'm looking forward to it very much. And if you haven't listened to it already, go back, watch the show, listen to our podcast on that show, Justified City Primeval, and check that out. In the interim, don't forget to check us out on social media. That's at Groundless Pod or at Groundless Podcast. On Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, etc. You can also email us at groundlesspodcast@gmail.com with your corrections, your concerns, your questions, and of course your love troubles. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We say it in that order because that's the easiest order to do it in. Subscribe is where you click the subscribe button in your podcast app. That's going to make sure that you get every episode of the show as it's released. That includes Justified City Groundless City Primeval. You'll get those episodes as well as soon as they're released after we watch the new episodes. Rate is where you give us a rating of 5 stars in the podcast app, and then review is where you take the time to write us a written review. We will be back in 2 weeks with season 6, episode 5 of Justified, and we'll keep going every 2 weeks there until the show's over. After 9 more episodes, if you can believe that. So yeah. So we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. And until then, thanks for listening.